Welcome to Shooting the Shit with Rhonda and T. Tonight we're reviewing Love and Marriage Detroit, Season 1, Episode 2
Pause.
and 3. What is we pausing for?
Go ahead, say your part.
Smack that number before Scott our channel.
All right, y'all.
All right, y'all.
Okay, let's get here. These bye.
Episode 2, we still at the Lavender Field, and what's his name? These people, Christina and Brandon. They still, he done took her to the side, and they're having a little conversation, and he ain't really saying a whole much of the same thing, but at this point, they decide that they're just going to table it for now because it's their anniversary. So then they walk back over to the rest of their guests and have a nice little anniversary slow dance. It was weird.
I guess, Charlie.
Everybody's blaming Colby for bringing the shit up. I don't know why, because if Brandon had lied, and then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Anthony blames Russell. Anthony said, Russell, if you hadn't opened your big mouth, this would have never happened.
Remember that.
I don't know anybody anywhere who doesn't have pillow talk, so they can stop acting like that's not a thing with couples and friends, for that matter. So that's pretty much how that ended. We had a whole argument, and then we, wrapped it all up.
That's why I said why you had all them people at your anniversary dinner. See, if you had it just been made it romantic, it was in the lilacs or wherever y'all.
Lavender.
Oh, that's where they was at, Lavender. Y'all was in the field. That should have been a romantic one-on-one. You had the band between the two of y'all, and you wouldn't have had all that.
He doesn't like her. That's why. That's what I think. And we'll see. We went from they're cute to holy moly. So we go over to Russell and Colby's house. They're having a cute little DIY moment. They're doing, putting together something in their little cute little house. And then Colby brings up the dinner, and then Russell is telling her house how she need to stay out of people's business because she didn't have no business, saying any of that at the anniversary party anyway. She keeps acting like she didn't know, he didn't know, but I feel like, yeah, you knew. You knew, because that's the whole pillow talk. Like, that's what's the whole good part of the story. Like, can you believe that this nigga got a new artist over here and he ain't said nothing? So, Colby, you knew what you were doing when you brought it up. But at the end of the day, yeah, Brandon shouldn't not told his wife about that. So, while she's so busy worried about what Brandon ain't told Christina, she then finds out that her husband been going to divinity school for 2 weeks and they said nothing to her. What do you think about that?
That should have been his comeback. Oh boy. He would have been like, well, did you tell your wife that you was going to divinity school?
He didn't know because Russell is smart enough not to say nothing to them fools. That's shady. She's grown up as a preacher's kid. She doesn't want that. She's been knowing that. And for 2 weeks, this man had laid up in the bed with his wife and not mentioned that he's going, where did you say you was? And how do you go to divinity school and you walking in the door every day with a whole lie?
You didn't have probably she probably thought he was at work. Because he military. So that's probably where he's doing the school at. But yeah, you didn't have a conversation, but you went all the way over there to her dad to have a conversation with him.
Well, he's a liar too, and we'll get to that. But he also and then he doesn't want to she's trying to discuss it, and he's pretty much like that. Let's move on. Like, he doesn't want to talk. I was like, move on. This is a big deal. And she's like, was there anything else you want to share? He was like, well, yeah, I've been thinking about buying a gym. So he has a whole lot of goals that he's actively working on and not discussing with her. But I feel like in his mind, based on, his upbringing and his thought process, that she's a wife and doesn't need to worry about these things. So, it's a need to know basis, I guess.
I wasn't mad at the gym thing because they both seem like that's good for, that's what they do.
I'm not mad at any of it, to be honest. They were dogging him out because he's a nonprofit. I'm not mad at people for as long as you're doing the right thing with the money, it doesn't matter to me.
And the thing, and when they had the conversation later, he wasn't he just talking about being the chapel in the military. He ain't talking about owning the church. That's different. That's different.
I don't believe him.
Well, he
I
said
think
not
he
yet.
was,
Not yet. Yeah.
that's the goal. She says she don't want to be a first lady, but I bet she will. So Brandon and Christina are unpacking the penthouse. I want to know where they get their money from. Is he what's
Not from that
is
studio.
the studio? Does he
Hell
have any
no.
artists?
The man who can't go to the club getting all this money from the studio, that don't make sense. That don't make sense.
And as
She-
cute as she is, the influencer with 27,000 followers.
Yeah, her parents probably got money.
Somebody has money.
Yeah.
But they're
Because
unpacking the
he a big
penthouse.
time pastor too.
Her father.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that must be a thing in Detroit. Detroit must have a whole lot of that must be like a thing there, because I feel like
all around here. It's church, liquor store, weed store. That's how it is.
So Christina's sitting there reading her Bible. I was like, you need to throw that Bible at Brandon. He's the one that need to pray his lying cheek ass over there. But no, she's sitting over there reading her Bible, trying to find the strength and whatever it is she needs to, refresh on. And they start going back and forth about the artist again. And she's like, well, do you think this artist is somebody that I need to meet? And he's like, you haven't met 90% of my artists. And I'm like, 90% of what? Of how many? Who is it? Who are the artists?
5 people.
Well, that's funny because that's the same thing I said. I was like, 90% of 5? Like, well, we know about 2.
Child.
So basically he's saying no, and I don't know why that's a thing. Like, I don't know why that's not. It just, I know a lot of married people, and I don't know, like, obviously what the negatives in their marriage are, but I just feel like those are things people talk about. You come home and you say, I got to go work with such and such. Like, these are conversations. I come home and talk about my day. I don't know why he don't come home and talk about his.
I got in my phone the 1,000 projects that Denny's working on.
Because y'all talk about them.
Yeah.
And if they're a secret, then that is a problem.
Right.
Especially if it involves some young girl, you up in the studio with it. When I call, you act a stone fool. You know what I'm saying? So he flips it back on Colby. It's Colby's fault. Now he's calling Colby a mean girl.
He do that.
And not only is she a mean girl, she's a swagger jacker.
Yep. He was like, get it off of me. Let's get it on Kobe. That's who you need to be mad at. Because Kobe didn't made me mad because she didn't call me out. So now I'm finna make Kobe the enemy. That's what he just did. And her ass fell for it.
I hope she doesn't, but it looks like she probably is. Yeah. So over at Anthony and Dr. Latoya's house, they're cooking and discussing their wine tasting event. And she's like, are you inviting your friends? And he's like, ain't gonna be no ugly people there. So I'm assuming he ain't going, because
that part.
Then they start talking about the dinner. Now, Russell and Colby is over at their house discussing the dinner. Anthony and Latoya is over at their house discussing the dinner. Is that pillow talk? Like, pillow talk don't necessarily have to take place like in the bed. I mean, people just talk about shit when they live in the same house.
And it was something to talk about shit. Why wouldn't you talk about it? Because baby, it went down.
It went down.
We talked about that on the way in the car on the way home. We was like, whoa.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that.
Dr.
What happened in the past? I want to know what happened. What you think happened?
What's the what are they calling it? What's the history? We need to know the history.
Yeah.
I don't need to know the history. We know what the history is. Quit
Anthony
playing.
wanted to know the history.
And so did Dr. Latoya.
Yeah.
Well, because Anthony was going so hard. Now you look a fool because you're going so hard for your boy and you ain't have all the details to the story. But he ain't tell you, Anthony, because apparently you run off at the mouth a little bit. You saying it's Russell, but according to Brandon, it's you. Dr. Latoya said, well, she can understand because they went through something similar. And Anthony was like, no, it wasn't similar.
It wasn't
Cause you
similar.
knew it wasn't similar.
Right.
He like, I didn't just leave, like, what's his name? Drew's husband, while you thought I was in the office and I was in
Down in
Atlanta.
Tampa. Right.
I might didn't give you all the details, but that shit is not similar. So the guys meet up at this forbidden club. We meet Bravo. And I said, I hope they bring in people, and I like that they're bringing in people. So, you know what I'm saying? Because in real life, you do have single friends and, you know, married friends, and everybody's not
That's
always
in that industry. There's always a Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hope you know one. You hope
Yeah.
you got to hook up with a Bravo, especially if you're the talent guy. I don't know what Brandon is doing though. Like, he said he ain't never really done the club thing. He was like, I only was like networking. Well, how come you don't know nobody?
That's why he ain't making no money. That's why I don't believe that.
And I feel like at his age, honestly, aren't you beyond that just a little bit? Like,
yeah, I hate 40-year-old niggas in the studio. I'm just being real.
They're still trying to do
that ain't already established.
Already there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because even with Anthony, as annoying as he is, he's established in his career. He's just trying to level up. He's not like over here trying to be Berry Gordy. Bravo is confused because he's a single man, and he's like, so you mean you got to get permission to manage an artist? And nobody said that, Bravo. Nobody said that he needed to get permission. But did you hear about his history? Bravo probably know about the history.
Bravo know.
And I want him to stop acting like he ain't been to that club. He be at that club. Stop playing. Russell and Anthony show up. Russell said he used to be down to the club 4-5 days a week. And I'm like, dang, Russell.
That's what Russell said.
5 days a week you was at the
club? Russell said he used to be out here. Bravo, my boy. That's the
He was very comfortable too. Both of them were comfortable. Now the waitress came over and Brandon is like this. I was like, man,
he's so full of it, Brandon.
I don't like him.
Like, hey, Brandon.
The waitress, she know him already.
Right.
Anthony said Brandon said he had to cover his eyes because he worried about Anthony running his mouth.
Child.
He didn't say Russell.
He didn't.
He said Anthony.
Right. And he right.
And he was right. So Russell had to go ahead and apologize for Colby on behalf of Colby. And then Brandon tried to go in and he was like, man, honestly, if Colby wanted to come for you, she would have did it. You really should be more mad at me because I was the one that spilled your tea. And Brandon is like, nah, because you too big. And I was like, that's lame as hell. So
I'm gonna go after your wife.
I'm gonna go after your wife. Not Russell's wife, you not. You might do that over there with Christina, but you're not going. Russell don't even do that. Like they argue, don't even argue. They just be having such a
regular it's a conversation. It really is. It wasn't disrespectful at all.
Nah, besides him saying, let's move on, but she didn't. She was like, no, I gotta finish saying what I gotta say. So Kristen calls while they're sitting there, and then he decides to say she doesn't know I'm here. So then he tells this lady he meeting with the boys at the church. Why he say he at church?
She can't hear that music in the background.
The club sound like church.
Child, what church y'all going to?
And then Bravo is like, we just handling business. And she's like, it's not Bravo. I was like, dang. Y'all must be looking at booty shaking. That's the first thing that came out of her mouth. And I was like, why she think they looking at booty shaking?
Because she knew they was at Bravo's club.
She at the church. So.
And the thing is, you lied to her like you ain't being videotaped. Like she ain't gonna see this later.
Not only that, but these guys are gonna go home and tell their wives where they was at. We went down to Bravo's.
Because they ain't got to lie.
They don't have to lie. And your friends, like you putting them in a position, they're not lying for you. They're gonna tell their wives it was down there, and they're gonna be like,
Mhm.
we were down at Bravo spot talking about the showcase, and Kristen calls and this nigga gonna tell her we at church.
Cause Anthony sat up there like, no, this nigga did. Yep. Yeah.
And one thing you're not gonna do is get Anthony in trouble with Dr. Latoya. He's been in trouble with her before. He's not doing that again.
He ain't
So
like that.
I mean, Christina's so I don't even want to use that word. She gonna have to let that go. You can't, like, you're not gonna be able to police him like that. If he ain't shit, he ain't shit.
Oh, hold your emotions inside. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep picking though. You know what
No.
I'm saying? You ain't gonna never stop feeling some kind of way, but you can't keep nagging. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and he wasn't cheating at the club. He was
And
emotionally.
exactly, it wasn't.
It wasn't at the club.
And you need to roll your ass up to that damn studio, because I ain't trust that. The way he was acting.
The way he was acting did not make sense. You don't act that way when you're around somebody that's not a vibe. You just don't.
And if you choose to be with him, you chose to stay with him. You're gonna have to just.
Girl, they was
push
doing an
forward.
interview this morning. I happened to go
Oh, this
past.
Nat getting on my nerves. He playing with me. Go ahead.
They did an interview with DJ Richie Sky, and I had to turn it off because I was like, I don't want to hear y'all. Russell, you going to divinity school, but I guess lying is okay. So you okay with him up here lying, saying y'all at church when you're not at church? That's your boy.
That's my boy. He said we stay out of people's business. Didn't he tell y'all that?
And Kristen said, she said she bored, and Russell was like, if my wife says she bored, I'm assume she trying to make that baby, so I'm finna be up out of here. But he don't be at the club anyway, like, cause like I said, at some point, if you're in the music industry, you need to go through there. You ain't got to be up in there like that. So I don't know what she's so worried. Well, I do know what she's so worried about, but you know. So Bravo is like, is the man trip off? Because this nigga can't go nowhere, do anything. Like, we're supposed to be having a showcase. How are we gonna have a showcase if you can't come here?
Right.
Good question.
She didn't say that he couldn't do it. She
said
just
he can't
said
go to
let
the
her
club.
know who the hell you dealing with. He don't want to, so why you don't want to?
That's not what he's telling his friends too.
Right.
Like when he tells his friends, he makes it seem like I'm just like in husband jail and my wife won't let me like off the leash and I can't go to the store and I can't. So they looking like, dang, Christina, you don't let the man do nothing.
Right.
That's not what it is. She said not the club, but Christina, that doesn't make sense. He's in the music industry. The club is part of it.
I think if he was just honest about what the hell he was doing.
She still ain't gonna be okay with it. For whatever reason, she thinks it goes down in the club.
She gonna have to, that's his job.
Well, I've said this before.
And she might be like, dude, it ain't bringing in no money, so miss me.
What are you doing? Right, because somebody's paying for something. And I was like, what a lovely view in that penthouse apartment in the sky. It looks expensive.
Absolutely. Downtown Detroit? Absolutely.
Overlooking the bay?
Absolutely. You can see Canada when you looked out that damn shit.
It was beautiful. Anthony said, man, what is the history? Like, I've been wanting to ask you since we was down to the lavender field. What is the history? And so then Brandon explains that, you know, he was like in a rough spot in his marriage. He was 1 foot out the door and he had this artist and they start getting, you know, close and he was writing for her. And when you're writing for somebody, you need to get into their life and find out like what they're feeling and look at screenshots of things.
No, you don't.
What screenshots do you be looking at?
Set out to somebody else.
Anyway, he started venting to her and he was telling her like how he can't stand his wife. And I was like, that's a lot. Like, I can't stand my wife.
But
not
I can't
like
stand my wife.
And that's how he acts like he can't stand her though. I feel like he's doing this shit on purpose. All of it, I feel like is because he's such a punk. I feel like he's doing this shit on purpose so she can, you know,
Hi.
They over
he's
here
doing it on
first.
purpose so she can then leave him, but she's not. She's a preacher's child. Like she believes in you.
Mhm.
You don't never let it go. You fight and fight and fight. Anyway, he had sent these inappropriate texts to the girl. I don't know if the screenshots was there, but they need to be. If I read text messages, she didn't open his laptop, and when she opened the laptop, plink, 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 all the text messages came up as she saw it. Again, he did that on purpose. Why is your text messages going to your laptop? Because you was hoping that she was gonna find it. That's why. But they did counseling, so it didn't work. It didn't work because when you go to counseling, you know, he can't then admit to being the wrong person, though all he can do is reconcile with his wife instead of just saying, I don't want it. Then he brought Colby back into it again. And Russell was like, we ain't about to do that. So So Colby and Christina meet up. Colby wanted to apologize for blowing up her anniversary dinner, but she said she stand by what she said. Russell should have said something, and they talk about, you know, how it was growing up as a preacher's kid. And Christina was like, yeah, I remember when my father used to leave the house at 3 a.m. and I was like, to do what?
Lay hands.
Well, I'm gonna leave it right there because I don't I don't know nothing about any of that. So the wine tasting, it looks very nice. They got a nice little charcuterie set up, and you know that the guests, Russell and Colby didn't come because they don't drink. So that, you know, doesn't make sense to go to a wine tasting. Brandon and Christina came with her friend Chelsea. Bravo was there. It was a nice little setup. The only Black-owned wine store in Detroit. Regina Gaines, if y'all in Detroit, you might want to check out her spot. They get a little wine education, and you know they're enjoying the whole moment, and then the mess starts. They're talking about being at the showcase. I mean, talking about the showcase and what have you. And then Brandon was like, somebody said Russell couldn't do this. And Anthony said, no, Russell couldn't do this because he told us at the club the other day he was a wild boy. I feel like that was one of those things that happened though. Like he's just saying what happened. He forgot this nigga didn't say.
I think he said it on purpose.
Do you?
Yes, I don't think that was a slip.
Why? Why do you think he said it on purpose?
Because he messy. He a messy person.
He's kind of
and he didn't like that he had lied to his wife when they was at the club. He didn't like it. So I felt like he put it out there.
I feel like he's very, very attached to Brandon. I think Anthony sees himself with this whole man movement. I feel like he sees himself as the leader of his group. That's why he doesn't really care for Russell much, because Russell's demeanor makes him more like a leader. You know, he's like quiet and not to be punked by anyone.
Well, he military.
And he's a grown-ass man. Anthony's a little bitch. And he done told the people, and then Christina's like, the club, I wouldn't. And so the whole thing started. And so Anthony keeps on arguing with Christina about her husband, which irritates the shit out of me. LaToya ain't saying nothing.
And Brandon ain't said nothing, and his wife ain't said nothing. I'm like, what is wrong with y'all?
I'm sorry, but
one, you wouldn't be able to talk to my wife like that. And then
at all.
When you be like, man, chill out. Why is you doing? Stay out there.
I would be more mad at my man.
Business.
I would be more mad at my man than I would be at anybody, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. Like Russell, stay out of their business.
You right now, you disrespecting me. Yeah. I don't give a shit what they got going on. But he going at it, and then like you said, why are you interested in their business? Well, that's what Christina's friend wanted to know. She was very polite. She was like, this is a lovely event. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to have been a part of this. I just have one question. Why are you so invested in what's going on with them? Oh, he snapped. Oh, because that's my boy from 20 years, little girl. We bosses over here. You don't know nothing about that, Christina. You need to like watch who you hanging around. Don't play with me. Don't play because I'm a whole boss. I was like, you're a whole bitch. What
He
is
came
happening
off
right
like a
now?
whole bitch. I've
What
never
is going
seen a
on?
man act like that. And I was like,
Little girl.
he reminded me of a boy that grew up with a house full of women, and all you do now is check because it was a whole lot of, you know what I'm
How
saying?
you doing?
Yeah, it was a whole lot, because sometimes men, like, not necessarily that he's gay, but they grow up in all women, and then you have to, because they didn't see auntie and them, and that's all they do too. And that's how that came across. I was like, was he the only boy with all sisters?
I don't think
It
he's
seemed
gay.
like
I don't think he's gay, but he's coming off that
he
way.
came across like the boy with all girls,
So
sisters.
like, do you have a crush, a man crush on Brandon? Like,
I mean, probably.
and if you do, why? Because he's trash. Like,
Corny.
I don't. Well, child, he made a fool of himself, and that's how that went off. Like with
And
him
then
carrying on.
the next scene should have been his wife in a car going the hell off, or in the back of that damn restaurant going off
She never
about
did.
how disrespectful that was.
She never did. They argued, and then they start calling. Then Bravo chimed in. This is on to episode 3, by the way.
Mhm.
Bravo chimed in, and I was like, now this girl got Bravo, Anthony, and her husband all like coming at her crazy.
That's why she needed her girl there.
What's the name?
All they ass off.
Brandon, after they start talking now, he just turned up. Like, now, like, you're just acting like my mom and you're holding back my career. And then she's like, what about my career? And I was like, y'all sitting up here having a fake argument about your career. That ain't why you're mad. It ain't got shit to do with no career. You're mad because he's a cheater and he was at the club
and a liar.
And a liar.
And you keep lying. All right. He
keeps lying and she keeps changing the narrative because the cameras are rolling. They've already decided that they're going to say emotional connection instead of that he flat out cheated. But I want to see them screenshots.
Y'all can miss us with that.
Nobody believes you.
It was emotional. Believe that.
Emotional like, what's his name? It was emotional like Anthony. Well, it turned out like she stood up and they start calling her insecure. And I was like, that's not fair. She's not insecure like as a person. She's insecure in her marriage because her husband cheats on her. And that's where her insecurity lies. Like, don't just act like she's insecure. He's doing shit to make her feel that way. And she keeps staying in the name of, I'm going to stay with my husband because, I don't know, the Bible said I should. So he gets up, he on one side of the room. Now, this is a wine store, y'all. A nice, quiet little, and they're in there literally turning up. The whole table is looking like, what the heck is going on? And Anthony has Brandon across the room. He's literally holding him back like some niggas in the club arguing. I was like, why is he holding him back like that? Is he about to go charge her? Like, it's not necessary.
That was so cool.
They got fight for a good minute, and then
they want to be housewives. That's what they want to be.
Brandon and Anthony.
Brandon and Anthony, they want to be housewives.
So, the fight escalated. So, and then, they walk out. Now, Brandon and Christina, they walking home from this. I was like, y'all acting a fool in your own neighborhood. You're not going to be able to go back down there.
But they downtown.
I'm just saying, you, every time you go near that place, the people going to be like, oh, Lord, here come these two. They're going, having this discussion about why they're holding each other back in their career. They go back to this ridiculous fake argument. And then out the blue, Brandon goes, so are you going to support me in being out in these streets? Yes or no?
Nope.
She said, I support your career, but I don't support you going in the club, and that's stupid. So, I mean, if she can't get over that, then she might as well just say no, because that doesn't even make sense. So, finally he says something to her like, do you want to be with me? I feel like when a man says to you, do you want to be with me? That's them saying they don't want to be there. They want
they're trying to put it on you to say it.
To say, let's be done.
So they can
and
get
I
off.
feel like he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. He keeps on, he said it. Do you want to be with me? Then he said, why? Do you just want to be married? And he said this outside, he said it in the restaurant or in the wine bar. All you care about is image. He said, do you just want to be married because you love this institution of marriage? And so he's pretty much putting out there that for her it's an image thing, and she just wants to be married because it looks good for her to be somebody's wife. That's why you need to date longer than 6 months before you go ahead and marry somebody, because I feel like Brandon doesn't even like her, and that's just how I feel. They get to the house and she goes in and he said he gonna take a walk, and then never came home.
Well, lock the door. Sure. Change the lock.
Leave his man bun outside. He was cracking me up talking about, when I come home, there's no like loving engagement. You're not excited to see me, and it's her fault.
When you come home at what, 2:00, 3:00 in the morning?
With a funky attitude because he's mad that he had to leave his slide and come home to her, nagging about where you been and who you been with. And she does. She be nagging. Let's see, where we at? We back at the restaurant. LaToya and Anthony are packing up their car, and LaToya's talking about how she was embarrassed, how they acted. And I'm like, you should have been embarrassed how your husband was acting, because how they was acting, he's the one that started the whole shit. None of that was started.
That was the most embarrassing part, was him yelling at that woman like that.
Oh my God. And then she's talking about how her feelings were hurt and she felt disrespected. And this fool talked about how he really want to help Brandon through this process, because he sees that they're going through a hard time. I was like, your wife just said she's embarrassed, and you was focused on their marriage and what they got going on. I just want to help him because, I feel like Brandon needs to be supporting Christina like right now, because like when you wanted to start your wine business, I went ahead and cut that check for you can go ahead and get your business started. That pissed her off a little bit. He trying to take credit, like the business wouldn't have even got off the ground without my financial assistance.
Well, of course he gonna say that.
She like, all I know is when they down here at the wine store arguing and acting a fool. Well, they're making me look bad. They're making us look bad as the business. And he was like, I mean, you're worried about your image. Everything's not always peaches and cream. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't just not invite your ghetto friends to your event. Okay. So basically, LaToya is like, if they don't know how to act, then they don't need to come no more. Because at the end of the day, it ain't even our business. We got our own shit going on. Everybody's trying to hear all of that, and that is uncomfortable when couples be doing all of that. They like kind of full split, even if it's at your house. Like, stop ruining the party. Nobody, y'all fell out at the lavender field. Now you over at the wine bar with that shit. Don't nobody want to hear that shit.
Do that shit on your own shit. Don't do that at mine.
Yeah. And aside from that, it was really nice, and it is embarrassing because y'all done bigged up this lady as the only Black wine store in the area, and here y'all come with that foolishness. So, and then Brandon want to say we're amongst the elite group of people in Detroit. I can't tell. So Colby's parents come over to discuss, her husband. And so Russell takes the baby out on a little, daddy-daughter date while she talks to her parents, and they sit down, and she, says, Russell's going to divinity school, and her father wants to sit there act like he didn't know. I was like, so the pastor lying? You lying, Pastor?
You might as well go back to the prom. Stop.
They basically,
He didn't know it's okay to tell his daughter. He was gonna keep it a secret until he told her. He was
he
like, "Oh,
should
no,
have
no."
said to Russell, have you told Kobe yet? Because she wants us to go over there, and I don't want to be in a position where I have to tell her something that you haven't told her. But now he wants to up there act like, basically lie. But I guess it's okay because her mother told her basically, this is his calling. It's between him and the Lord. Ain't got nothing to do with you. And so you need to find out whenever he decides it's time for you to find out. So her conversation with her parents is a big old waste of time because both her mother and her father support Russell in his decision, and whatever she's feeling is like not that important. That's basically what I got out of that. All the explaining in the world won't gonna make them change their mind. Her father said something to the effect of how difficult it must have been for Russell to be going to school without telling her. That was difficult for Russell to do that. And that maybe she should, if she considers his feelings, then he will turn around and consider hers.
There's a lot going on in my house, so keep talking. And I'm gonna walk upstairs.
Anthony goes to the studio where he's got a team over there. They're preparing for a lookbook. Ooh, y'all, we get a tour of the crib. He's at a studio preparing a lookbook for, I don't know, one of his companies. And while he's there, he calls his homeboy. Ooh, the lighting of it all. Look at you, girl.
I know it's glowing.
Just glowing.
We're in the back of the house now. We're in the closet. Okay.
But yeah, so Anthony's at a studio, and he calls his friend Brandon because he ain't talked to Brandon since that night they showed out at the wine tasting. Brandon said he was on Do Not Disturb, and he felt like he was getting no support for anyone. So he said F everybody because he ain't really like. And I was like, you didn't feel supported when your friend sat up there and yelled and screamed at your wife in front of everyone. But that, I don't. You didn't feel supported because they told you to calm down, you doing too much, and that you shouldn't be lying to your wife. I don't know. Brandon is on bullshit. He said he might be separated. He's staying at the other crib.
You might be. Why you keep the other crib? Was that the plan?
I'm just gonna assume that since they just moved into the penthouse, they still haven't sold this house yet.
Who do that?
Anthony and Christina. So they got 2 mortgages, a studio, and
right. Who do that? That didn't make sense.
She explained over at the wine tasting event that she has put her career on hold. She hasn't actually.
Okay.
Why my mama didn't give me no penthouse in the sky? Shoot. Why I don't know what they doing. Anthony, you at the other crib, man. You about to go ahead on back home before you lose your wife. And I forgot to mention that while they were arguing back and forth, Christina said, I can get any man I want. And Brandon was like, oh, you don't want to play that game because my line of work, I'll be out here with these women. And I was like,
you already out there.
But that's the real issue. So while y'all are complaining about, arguing about careers and stuff, that's the real issue right there. And Christina can get any man she wants if she would go ahead and let go of that clown she's attached herself to. Anthony says, do you want somebody, another man calling, your daughter calling another man daddy? I was like, why is that always the thing? Why is that the thing that supposedly there? He doesn't care.
If we separate, that's probably what's gonna end up happening if you hook up with somebody else anyway. So
especially as little as his daughters are. And she already said, actually, both her and Colby said they have an issue with their husbands not being home, and they with them kids all the time. So Russell tried to come through with the picnic basket and have a cute little daddy-daughter day, but apparently he ain't doing that on a regular basis because Colby said he always be gone working. And Christina said the same thing. He leave in the morning to be at the studio from in the morning all the way until night, unless he slide to the club
And
and
then he
don't
wants
tell
you.
you.
So if you gone all day and you in the studio tonight, when is she supposed to come in to be happy, happy? Ain't she sleep? Or getting ready to
That's
go
what
to bed?
she said. She said
What?
11, 12 o'clock at night, and I feel like it's
So where
probably
the
later
happy
than that.
household, all of that, I don't be greeted. How do he expect
You
to be
ain't
greeted at
greet
that
you with
time?
what? I done
Right,
cooked dinner. You wasn't here for that. I
right.
ate dinner by myself. I ate breakfast by myself.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, Anthony keeps bringing up Atlanta, and that's his comparison to everything. They keep convincing him to stay in his marriage, and he said in that sentence, "I don't want it." He doesn't want it. He doesn't want to be married. He's just too pussy to say, "I don't want," not to his wife. And she over with her friends, so she goes over to Chelsea because Chelsea has an event coming up, and Chelsea is, needs a dress. So when you have a designer friend, of course you go to your designer friend to get a custom made, outfit for whatever the occasion is. And they're going back and forth. Kristen is basically telling Chelsea what's going on. I like Chelsea because Chelsea wasn't being messy. She wasn't saying, "Girl, you need to leave him," or "Girl, fight for your marriage." She just stayed neutral and let her vent. And she was the one that got cussed out.
Child.
Christina says she wants a 2-parent household. People have to stop hanging on to a shitty situation just in order to have a 2-parent household. You don't, clearly, because he'd be at the studio all day. So, and she said if he wants to go, though, she can't fight him. But he wants to go. He gone. He's staying at the old house.
Let him go. Because it ain't always easy on the other side. Let him go.
But he gonna see.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cause
he gonna
oh
see
girl,
that he's
that's all
not.
in the mirror. She ain't wifey.
Well, and she probably thinks he's old
Yeah.
and corny
That's what I
with
said, let
that
him go
bun.
and let him find out.
Right. She's thinking this old man over here with this bun on top of her.
She trying to get where she thinks she can get from him and keep it moving.
She's trying to get introduced to Bravo so things can really stop popping off over here. Because, Anyway, Anthony and Dr. Latoya have a date night. It was a whole lot of Anthony and Dr. Latoya meeting up talking about Atlanta. I'm really tired of talking about Atlanta. At the end of the day, I get why she was feeling away. During pandemic was not a good time to be trying to make changes like that. I feel like Anthony went to Atlanta and set up shop. Like she knew he was going, but I feel like he set up shop, and since he thinks he's like the single man movement, he probably thought he was gonna be able to convince her to come on down there. Dr. Latoya said, "That's not what we're doing."
She got to practice. So no.
I also feel like that's a struggle probably with a lot of couples who are both career driven and have good careers, you know what I'm saying? And then opportunities come, and then you got to figure out what you're going to do. But based on their traditional values, it's the man that's supposed to be leading the household. And in his household, the wife is clearly the one.
Right.
Like, it's not that he doesn't have money, but I feel like she's the one with it, like you said, with the practice and all of that. So, and then on top of that, she got kids. Like they got how many kids? 3 kids. I can't remember how many, but that's a lot. When you used to the husband being the person that's handling the day to day, and now he gone, and you want me to be. That's a lot. So I get why that's not a thing.
During COVID of all times, like
Of
that
all
was the
time.
most stressful time in the world, especially somebody in the health field. And
But
then
I also understand how an opportunity to work for Marvel would be a really exciting thing, and he
it was
really
bad
wanted to do
timing.
it. The timing just wasn't right.
I mean, it sucked for the whole world. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I was saying kids didn't get to have a graduation. Like a lot of people had to sacrifice things that
it sucked for the whole world.
Yeah. So Colby and Russell go to the gym to a little jump a rope course gym to do, to talk. They basically just talk about the situation again, and he says to her that he'll be more supportive, and communicate with her before he makes big decisions like that. I hope he does. In the confessional, he said he was disappointed though, that it was off-putting that she wasn't being his cheerleader. But Russell, she told you from the very beginning. She told you from the very beginning that that ain't what she wanted. And I'm guessing because, of her values, she married somebody that's aligned. You know what I'm saying? It's not an accident that she married somebody that has aspirations to be a pastor at some point, because I'm getting a feeling that that's what you was looking for. He just happened to come into a cute package. Bonus. He's good looking and he loved the Lord. I'll take him.
Mm-hmm.
That's her talking, child. I'm not ever made those types of choices, and here I am where I'm at. So Anthony and Latoya meet up again. They met at the river, and they gonna take a boat ride with their friend. And again, they talking about Atlanta. This time Latoya brought it up, because when he brought it up last time, he was like, I got to get back out to Atlanta, and I know you don't want to hear that. She's like, will you stop saying that, because it's so annoying, because he says that. But Latoya, I think you make him feel that way. I think every time he say Atlanta, you probably give him some energy like,
She rolling her eyes. Yeah.
yeah. I actually felt bad for him, because that is an opportunity. I'm looking at it like, if it were me and I had an opportunity to go do some shit that I had to pass up because it wasn't, like you said, the right time, I'm still gonna feel a way. Like, I want to still do it. And now that, the world is working back, we back moving again, he wants to take an opportunity to do this. So she put it out there.
Plan?
They
I hear
gotta
you
talk
saying
about
it's
that.
an
I think
opportunity, but y'all gotta have a plan. What is the plan?
I think he's trying to ease into it, but she's never making it comfortable to talk about. That's why he keeps saying that. And then when she brought it up this time, she's selling it to, and I was glad, like that lady that, the friend, she didn't just jump on Latoya's side. She pretty much was saying what you said, like, so what's the plan? How do you handle that? Because she put it out there like, he left me here with these kids. And I was like, no, you're trying to sell him off like he's a deadbeat dad and stuff. Then he got her family piling up on him. And,
that's because everybody, like I said, it's because of the timing. Because around that time, everybody was stressed out and we didn't know what the hell was going on. You know what I'm saying? And so
right.
Their family probably was like, dude, what is you doing? Get back here with your family. You know what I'm saying?
That, but she probably was selling it the way she tried to sell it to this lady. Because I was like, well, I mean, you don't say it like that. Like, you can't say it like he had an opportunity that he couldn't take because of the timing. He didn't just be like, fuck this family, I'm out of here, I'm going to Atlanta. And at some point you got to bend, because if he doesn't get a chance to go ahead and pursue it, he gonna hold it against her. And he gonna
like I said, now just come up with a plan. Because then, I mean, like I said, it wasn't right. We had to figure out if they got 3 kids, how she was gonna work, and then the kids had to do school, and that's a lot. There was no way she was gonna be able to do all of that on her own. And then your husband is in a whole nother state. It was just wrong time.
Wrong time and selfish to do it. But I think they're both being selfish.
Well, now that's what I'm saying. Now, if we gonna talk about do it, let's come up with a plan.
We got to figure it out, because he's doing his job. He's taking care of the home, and I mean the day-to-day shit, because obviously she's not the one picking up the kids from school. They got boys. So the boys, obviously, you want
sports, because we see
you're talking about this man movement. You can't leave the young men in your own house behind and go some daggone where.
And
then
so that's a runaround. And
then he's like helping her like build her wine business, and we can see that he's a marketer. So I feel like she leans on him a lot when it comes to marketing her business and helping her, because the packaging is lovely. You know what I'm saying? I haven't tasted it yet, but I will, because, why not? You know, and I hope that being said, I hope that Christina goes ahead back in her design studio, and while we while we're here in this space of, you know, this platform, go ahead and do that. Bring your shit out there so we can see what you're doing. Cause, you know, otherwise they'll just sit here and make these women look like insecure ass bitches who don't support these misogynistic ass men. And that ain't, we don't have to do that.
No, that was Carlos'
So,
thing. Though.
yeah, well, hopefully that's not the thing. Next week we see they have a little get together, and Anthony is once again, not Anthony, Brandon is once again trying to attack Colby, but it's not gonna happen. Russell not about to let you do that. So
Sorry,
I don't
dude.
know what kind of foolishness that took place over at that wine bar, because I wasn't there. But what you're not gonna do, if you got something to say it over here, bro. We ain't finna do that. And so
Absolutely.
now the girls are, you know, into it. It seems like the girls are not as into it as Brandon is into it.
Well, Brandon's gonna try to turn her on Kobe because he's so mad at Kobe anyway. Because he's a little biatch.
He is a bitch. And this is the thing. We always do better when we work together. Kobe and Christina working together can only be a positive thing, swagger jacket and all. And I was like, who the hell is walking around here saying swagger jacket?
Oh,
I haven't heard. Do your kids say that? Because mine don't.
I've never heard that come out. Not even the baby. Mm-mm.
So y'all, that's it for Love and Bears Detroit.
Here comes.
We'll
You gonna
see
close this out?
He's here. Oh shoot.
Man, I'm cold.
What you gonna tell him?
Somebody said don't subscribe to our channel.
You look so funny wrapped in a blanket sitting in the sunlight.
I'm
Okay, y'all.
Chick-fil-A.
I'm finna go eat my Chick-fil-A.
Oh shoot.
We got Chick-fil-A.
That piece.
Bye, y'all.